Hello everyone. I welcome you all to the revision session of Unit 1. In this session, we are going to deal with the Introduction to Educational Psychology. Let me start sharing the screen. So, Unit 1 deals with psychology and its bearing on education, Introduction to Educational Psychology. So, when we say educational psychology, it is all about how psychological principles could be made use of in the field of education. So, the definition says educational psychology is the science of education. And when we talk in terms of the nature of educational psychology is an applied branch of psychology. By applying the principles and techniques of psychology, it tries to study the behavior and experiences of the students. So when we move on to the scope of educational psychology, the scope of educational psychology revolves around the learner, that is the students, learning experiences, learning process, learning environment, and the teacher. So what are the main aims and objectives of educational psychology? Basically, you need to understand the learning situation, predict the learning situation, and control the learning situation. These are the three main objectives that are involved in educational psychology. Role of psychology in educational theory and practice. The role of psychology in education can be explained as follows. First one is to know the learner. Next, to select and organize the subject matter, to suggest the art and technique of learning and teaching, arranging the learning situation, helps the teacher in understanding the hereditary and environment of the student, helps in maintaining discipline, helps in rendering guidance services to students, helps in evaluation and assessment, helps in solving classroom problems, helps the teacher to know himself or herself better. So basically, these are the areas where psychology can play an important role, both in educational theory and in educational practice. When we talk in terms of the research in educational psychology, program evaluation research, action research, and teacher as a researcher are the three major research methods through which we can gain a lot of information and make important changes in the education process. So the first one is program evaluation research. Program evaluation research is the research designed to make decisions about the effectiveness of a particular program. And what do we mean by action research? Action research is used to solve a specific problem which arises in the classroom with improved teaching and other educational strategies, or to make a decision at a specific location. The goal of action research is to improve educational practices immediately in one or two classrooms, at one school, or at several schools. Then, what do we mean by the research teacher as a researcher? The concept of teacher as a researcher is the idea that classroom teachers can conduct their own studies to improve their teaching practices. This is an important outgrowth of action research. Some educational experts believe that the increasing emphasis on the teacher as a researcher reinvents the teacher's role, fuels school renewal, and improves teaching and learning. The most effective teachers routinely ask questions and monitor problems to be solved, then collect data, interpret them, and share their conclusion with other teachers. So these are regarding the research methods that we can use in educational psychology. Then what are the effective teaching skills that a teacher needs is, one is professional knowledge and skills, the other is commitment and motivation. So under professional knowledge and skills, subject matter competence is very important to the teacher. The teacher should follow the instructional strategies. It can be constructivist approach, which is student friendly approach, and direct instruction approach, which is more teacher friendly, okay, or teacher oriented rather. Goal setting and instructional planning. So the goal has to be set proper and the instruction has to be planned well. Developmentally appropriate teaching practices have to be adopted and classroom management skills have to be gained. Then commitment and motivation. Being an effective teacher also requires commitment and motivation. This includes having a good attitude and caring about students. They have confidence in their own self-efficacy. Don't let negative emotions diminish their motivation and bring a positive attitude and enthusiasm to the classroom. Effective teachers have a good sense of humor, make the class interesting, have knowledge of their subjects, they explain things clearly, spend time to help students, they are fair to their students, treat students like adults, relate well to students, are considerate of students' feelings, and highly impartial towards their students. Moving on to the theories of instruction, Bruner's cognitive development theory and Gagne's hierarchical theory are the two important theories which we deal with when we talk in terms of theories of instruction. Here, first let's take up Bruner's cognitive development theory. In his research on cognitive development of children, Jerome Bruner proposed three modes of representation or three stages. What are they? First one is the inactive stage, second one is the iconic stage, and third one is the symbolic stage. So the inactive stage is action based, iconic stage is image based, and symbolic stage is language based. When we talk in terms of the educational implications of Bruner's theory, the aim of education should be to create autonomous learners. For Bruner, the purpose of education is not to impart knowledge, but to facilitate a child's thinking and problem solving skills, which can be transferred to a range of situations. Specifically, education should also develop symbolic thinking in children. Bruner emphasized on the concept of spiral curriculum and discovery learning. So let's understand what it is all about. He says spiral curriculum is important, and this involves information being structured so that complex ideas can be taught at a simplified level first and then revisited at more complex levels later on. So anything that is there in the curriculum should be taught, it should be designed in such a way that simple things, basics have to be taught first and later the complex things have to be taught. He believed that the most effective way to develop a coding system is to discover it rather than being told by the teacher. So he believed in discovery learning. Instead of the teachers telling everything to the students also should learn to discover things on their own. Therefore, Bruner's emphasis was on guiding the students through constructivist approach, allowing them to explore their world and gaining knowledge. Moving on to Gagne's hierarchical theory, Robert Gagne's theory proposes that there are several different types or levels of learning. The significance of these classifications is that each different type requires different type of instructions. So according to him, there are different levels of learning, and also when he talks about the classification, he talks about there are different types of instruction too. Majorly, he identifies 5 major categories of learning, that is verbal information, intellectual skills, cognitive strategies, motor skills, and attitudes. Gagne suggests that learning tasks for intellectual skills can be organized in a hierarchy according to the complexity. So this is what he talks about hierarchy. We call Gagne's hierarchical theory. The hierarchy he suggested is as follows. So on the top of the hierarchy is stimulus recognition. So when we say stimulus recognition, we talk in terms of how the stimulus of learning is being recognized. Then response generation, how the students respond for this, we need to ask the students a lot of questions and generate responses from them. Then following the procedure, okay, in order to teach, then use of terminologies, discriminations, concept formation, rule application, and finally problem solving. Thus, these are the theories of instruction which help or guide teachers to do their best in teaching. So Bruner's theory as well as Gagne's theory, which help the teachers in teaching, are the major theories of instruction. Okay. So we have spoken of the definition, ಶೈಕ್ಷಣಿಕ ಮನೋವಿಜ್ಞಾನದ ವ್ಯಾಖ್ಯಾನದ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಮಾತಾಡಿದೀವಿ. ಶೈಕ್ಷಣಿಕ ಮನೋವಿಜ್ಞಾನದ ಸ್ವರೂಪ ಹಾಗೂ ಅದರ ವ್ಯಾಪ್ತಿ, ಅದರ ಧ್ಯೇಯೋದ್ದೇಶಗಳು ಏನಿತ್ತು, ಹೇಗೆ ಶೈಕ್ಷಣಿಕ ಮನೋವಿಜ್ಞಾನವು ಹೇಗೆ ಶೈಕ್ಷಣಿಕ ರಂಗದಲ್ಲಿ ಅದರ ಸಿದ್ಧಾಂತ ಹಾಗೂ ಅದರ ಅಳವಡಿಕೆಗೆ ಹೇಗೆ ಸಹಾಯ ಮಾಡಿದೆ ಅಂತ, ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಶೈಕ್ಷಣಿಕ ಮನೋವಿಜ್ಞಾನಕ್ಕೆ ಸಂಬಂಧಪಟ್ಟ ಸಂಶೋಧನಾ ವಿಧಾನಗಳು, ಆನಂತರ ಸಮರ್ಥ ಶಿಕ್ಷಕರಾಗೋದಕ್ಕೆ ನಮಗೆ ಬೇಕಾದಂತ ಪರಿಣಾಮಕಾರಿ ಕಲಿಸುವ ಕೌಶಲ್ಯಗಳು ಯಾವುವು ಅಂತ ಅನ್ನೋದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ, ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರಮುಖವಾದಂತದ್ದು ವೃತ್ತಿಪರ ಜ್ಞಾನ ಹಾಗೂ ಕೌಶಲ್ಯಗಳು, ಮತ್ತೊಂದು ಬದ್ಧತೆ ಹಾಗೂ ಅಭಿಪ್ರೇರಣೆ. ಅದಾದ ನಂತರ ನಾವು ಮಾತನಾಡಿದ್ದು ಥಿಯರೀಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಇನ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಷನ್, ಕಲಿಸುವಿಕೆಗೆ ಸಂಬಂಧಪಟ್ಟಂತ ಸಿದ್ಧಾಂತಗಳು ಯಾವುದು ಅಂತ. ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಎರಡು ಮುಖ್ಯವಾದ ಸಿದ್ಧಾಂತಗಳು, ಒಂದು ಬ್ರೂನರ್ ರವರ ಸಂಜ್ಞಾನಾತ್ಮಕ ವಿಕಾಸ ಸಿದ್ಧಾಂತ, ಮತ್ತೊಂದು ಗ್ಯಾಗ್ನೆ ರವರ ಶ್ರೇಣೀಕರಣ ಸಿದ್ಧಾಂತ. ಸೊ ಬ್ರೂನರ್ ರವರ ಸಂಜ್ಞಾನಾತ್ಮಕ ಸಿದ್ಧಾಂತದ ಪ್ರಕಾರ ಅವರು 3 ಸ್ಟೇಜಸ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾರೆ: ಎನಾಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಸ್ಟೇಜ್, ಐಕಾನಿಕ್ ಸ್ಟೇಜ್ ಮತ್ತು ಸಿಂಬಾಲಿಕ್ ಸ್ಟೇಜ್. ಮತ್ತು ಅವರು ಸ್ಪೈರಲ್ ಕರಿಕ್ಯುಲಮ್, ಸುರುಳಿ ಪಠ್ಯಕ್ರಮದ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಮತ್ತು ಡಿಸ್ಕವರಿ ಲರ್ನಿಂಗ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಆವಿಷ್ಕಾರ ಕಲಿಕೆ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಗ್ಯಾಗ್ನೆರ್ ಅವರ ಥಿಯರಿ ಪ್ರಕಾರ ಅವರು ನೀಡಿರುವಂತಹ ಶ್ರೇಣೀಕರಣದಲ್ಲಿ ಮೊದಲನೇದಾಗಿ ನಾವು ಯಾವುದೇ ಕಲಿಕೆ ಆಗ್ಬೇಕು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಅದರ ಪ್ರಚೋದನೆಯನ್ನ ಗುರುತಿಸ್ಬೇಕು, ಆ ನಂತರ ಪ್ರತಿಕ್ರಿಯೆಯನ್ನ ನಾವು ಪಡ್ಕೋಬೇಕು, ಕೆಲವೊಂದು ವಿಧಾನಗಳನ್ನ ನಾವು ಅನುಸರಿಸಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಹಾಗೆ ನಾವು ಉಪಯೋಗಿಸುವ ಪದಗಳ ಬಳಕೆ, ಟರ್ಮಿನಾಲಜೀಸ್, ನಂತರ ಒಂದು ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ಗೂ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ಗೂ ಏನ್ ವ್ಯತ್ಯಾಸ ಇದೆ ಅಂತ ತಿಳಿಸ್ಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಸಂಪ್ರತ್ಯಯ ರಚನೆ ಆಗ್ಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಕೆಲವೊಂದು ನಿಯಮಗಳನ್ನ ಪಾಲನೆ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಕಡೆಯದಾಗಿ ನಾವು ಸಮಸ್ಯೆ ಪರಿಹಾರವನ್ನ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ಇದಿಷ್ಟು ಗ್ಯಾಗ್ನೆರ್ ಅವರ ಥಿಯರಿಯ ಕುರಿತು, ಅಥವಾ ಗ್ಯಾಗ್ನೆರ್ ಅವರ ಶ್ರೇಣೀಕರಣ ಸಿದ್ಧಾಂತದ ಕುರಿತು. ಸೊ ಇದಿಷ್ಟು ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಯೂನಿಟ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ಇರುವಂತದ್ದು. ಐ ಹೋಪ್ ದಿಸ್ ರಿವಿಷನ್ session was useful to you. Let me stop sharing. With this, I end my session. Thank you.